Are we ready? If you could lower the music or stop the music. Don't want to think we're festive. This meeting is called to order. This is the City of Delray Beach CRA meeting, Thursday, December 17, 2020 at 4:00 p.m. Special meeting at the Arts Warehouse. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Boylston? Here. Commissioner Brooks?
Here.
Commissioner Casale?
Here.
Vice Chair Frankel? Deputy Vice Chair Gray? Here. Chair Johnson?
Present.
Commissioner Petrolia?
Here.
Thank you. The next is the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
I have a technical difficulty down at this end. Still good? Okay, thank you. We call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Casale?
Yes.
Vice Chair Frankel?
Yes.
Deputy Vice Chair Gray?
Yes.
Chair Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Petrolia?
Yes.
Commissioner Boylston?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know if we're going to wait until we start the item before we allow for public comments. Public comments now? Okay. If there's anyone in the audience, I understand. Is it me? I understand that there were no phone comments. So if there's anyone from the audience attending, please, let's see, state your name and, try to read it all. State your full name, state your address, and you have 3 minutes. And who's keeping the time?
Danielle will take
I am.
the time.
Okay, thank you.
You'll hear a voice.
I'm wondering what can I say that would really make a difference to you to vote on this very limited extension? Because what I have observed with this commission is no disrespect, but when you have made your mind up for something, it's very hard to listen to the speakers that will influence your vote. I know this because I've observed you for many years.
However, this developer was your choice, not mine initially. However, I have come to learn that the changes made were a direct reflection of this community who said, number one, we want a major grocery, and as far as I know, 20 years, and we didn't get some rinky-dink a grocery, no disrespect, we got Publix, which is a great company. Number two, we don't want patrons using the parking to walk in our neighborhood and then go downtown. So they reduced the parking. Number three, we don't want all of this housing, multiple stories, because remember, that's one neighborhood, just happens to be divided by Atlantic Avenue. So they listened and made substantial reduction in the housing. Personally, I prefer ownership, as you always know, because that is the beginning of wealth building. However, a favorable vote today may demonstrate some compassion. Besides, in the scheme of things, what is 10 months or whatever, because nobody has experienced what we have experienced, especially during these times. And listen to the community. One thing I've learned when you speak for a community, you identify who you're talking about. But when you use the term I don't like that, then that's not very good for an elected official. Let's not get caught up in the I, but reflect what the residents want. And as always, I really do thank you for your service, because I would not have your job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Odom. Is there anyone else?
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. My name is Laura Simon. I am the Director of the Downtown Development Authority. It is great to see everyone here today and in person. So I had sent everyone an email. The DDA board met on Monday for our December board meeting and did review the project and met with BH3. And this is a huge, very significant piece for our downtown and the DDA district, and we are, and the board are behind this project and behind what's happening, and we encourage you all to support and to see this project through to the end. Back in 2018, this board was very involved, our DDA board was very involved in the previous project with the grocer and meeting with Publix at the time, and Bob Gibbs, in providing some recommendations for that. And we are so excited to see that this is another opportunity for this to actually come through and through fruition. And we did provide in our email yesterday with some of those recommendations that were provided back then, and we would hope that, and we did relay those to BH3 as well, that there's, the connectivity from the 500 to the 600, 700 block is just, we want that extension, and we want to make sure that that's there, and as well as the 6th Avenue mural or some type of significance that we can do there along the project. But for today's purpose, we just encourage you to, hear from the DDA. We will take, once this development happens and it is, continues to happen and the businesses are here, it is a very hard time right now, but it is something that will make, just really complete this, our downtown, making it much more whole and be something that is for the community. It is community driven. It's been part of the community, it's an investment, and we really want to see that happen. So we just encourage you to support that and just really see this project through and see it through the end. So thank you for your time, and I know it's a very difficult decision, and it is in your hands, and we hope that you'll make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Is there anyone else?
First of all, I want to wish everybody a happy holiday, and I don't know you all that well. I do know you in passing, but I do thank you for your service, because I know
Sir, may I have your name and
big sacrifice. My name is Steve Muschaltz. I live on 104 Wilson Avenue in Delray Beach. I also own a business here in Delray Beach, and I also have a charity here that serves a lot of the single mothers here in Delray Beach. So just about a month ago, Chris Caesar and I, who is a staple in our community, did an event, and it was basically called Cards in Conversation, and it was our second annual event, and it was unity in the community, and we called it as simple as black and white. The reason why I tell you this is because we want to bring unity to the community. BH3 reached out to us. They heard about our last year event and how successful it was in bringing the community together, and since we did a positive unity event, they wanted to be part of it. I had never really met these guys before, but they came to me. We sat down and talked in depth of their project, how they wanted to get involved in the city, and what they wanted to do to change things. So we had over 250 people, or 215 people show up in a pandemic, leaders in the community, both black and white, knowing how important unity in this community is. BH3 offered to join again, like I said, and participated, and actually one of the members was on our panel, which was an open discussion. To me, a definition of community is a group of people with a common characteristic of interest living together within a larger society. Delray Beach is a community. We have separation within this community, and however, I know the majority of the people want unity. So let's walk across the street, meaning Swinton, to work, live, and play. The community wants and needs this project to make us one community. it's been proven and spoken about by many people in the community that want this to happen. So I think 6 months is not a big time to let them do what they do. If you look back, that's from June 17th to 2/20. Look how quick that 6 months went. So what I say, we've come this far, let's not start over.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Dash Travel, Delray Beach Experience. I've been driving and living in Delray Beach for 7243D Medici Circle. I've been driving past that for about 20 years, and it'd be really nice to see something that's finally developed, and these are the right guys to do it. I just want to voice my support for the extension.
Thank you. If everyone could please silence their phones.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Britis. My business is Atlantic Commercial Group. I'm a commercial realtor here in town at 98 Southeast 6th Avenue. And here to also give my support for the extension and the project that BH3 is proposing. I think, this is not just a land development, but this is the creation of a bridge between the area west of Swinton, connecting to the downtown Atlantic Avenue corridor. I think that, from what I understand, the housing, it's workforce housing, which obviously is a great need for the community, and certainly the community is underserved by grocery stores. So I think any development that's being proposed, and the time and the energy and the money that is being spent to get all of these approvals completed, I highly recommend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Chris Caesar. Most of you all know me. Well, I know everyone here. But I just
Address,
want
please. Address.
332 Northwest 10th Avenue, Delray Beach, Florida.
Thank you.
My family has been here for at least 100 years in Delray Beach on both sides of my family. And before my grandmother died, she was complaining about the same thing we're complaining about now. There's no grocery store in our area. We drive, spend gas money to go to shop, retail, grocery store. I have meetings all the time. I had one 2 days ago, but I couldn't meet in my neighborhood because there's nowhere for me to meet, so I had to go downtown to meet. These guys came into the community. I'm supporting them because they weren't just lip service. That's not what they were doing. They came in, they listened to the community. I second what Mrs. Odom said about the parking. We know that parking is necessary, but the community, I'm in the community. I'm walking the streets. I'm talking to people. They don't want a lot of parking for people to come to our community, park in our community, and then walk downtown. When we want to go downtown, we go downtown. But we need something in our area, and it's well overdue for us to have something to develop now. And I'm asking for an extension for BH3 because they've proven themselves in our community, and they're continuing to do so with the outreach and things that they do during the pandemic. It was tough. People didn't have food. They came out for 9 weeks, and I sat there and helped them give out food. I mean, I got to know some of them, and they're really good people, and they want the best for the community. They listen to the community. The other thing is that retail. We want somewhere where we can shop. There's nowhere in our neighborhood. I don't see how anybody here could sit there and be like, we want to come up with something else. Right now, we have a group here that wants this project, that's going out of their way to do what they can to meet with the requirements you all are asking. But also, you got to remember, the community. I'm a community member first, so I met them. I know most of you, and I love everybody here, but I got to think about the community first. The community wants development as fast as possible. They want development that it suits us. And also, the number one thing that the community wants and I'm going to tell you, I know this is a fact, is the grocery store. That's the number one thing they want. The second thing, like I said, they want infrastructure so that we can have our businesses going, have a place to go in our area. There's nowhere for us to go. So I'm asking for you all to
Time is out.
think about the community and give this extension. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
First of all, I'd just like to say, in a respectable place, good evening. Second of all, my name is James McCray. I am a resident of Delray Beach, Florida. I reside at Glendale at 33444 area. This presentation, I've been coming around for a while now, and it seems as though there's a miscommunication, community politics. BH3 offers an opportunity that no one really knows. We do know, though, that it's offering an opportunity for the community. In and out of that, the choices that you will make today will reflect the community. However you do it, whichever way you go. It's enough dickering, da-da-da, promises, da-da-da. But at the end of the day, I think the last time I was at your meeting, I told you, what would your legacy be? What would your legacy really be? I used to stop something, I'll ride down the street one day and see a beautiful grocery store. I see the community that was once in 1950 had 2 canals on the roadside, that now all of a sudden they got a motel, they got a grocery store, they got a police department, they got a fire department. So when you're coming off of 95, it's going to definitely increase the value. But I leave it in your hand again. I support BH3 only because of what I see is happening. I leave it in your hand to make the choice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else?
Hello, my name is John Brewer, 501 Northwest 13th Street. I'm in favor of this project. I just would like to let everybody know. I did some research about the old equity development project, John Flynn and everybody, and he had never built anything in the United States before. He was not really a resident of Delray Beach. I can vouch for all these guys here. Zach Purdo, I served on SPRAB with his mom. Tyler Levy is good friends with my brother-in-law. They are part of the fabric of this community. Even Dan, he was walking his dog there yesterday when they came down to meet us. I believe Equity Development was given 6 extensions when they were doing their project. I could be wrong on that. It could be a round number. The goal has always been, 1, to get a grocer. And I read some of the old newspaper articles, and Mr. Flynn was promising a grocer. These guys have an LOI from Publix. Publix is a great local brand. They take care of their employees. They offer stock options. One of the things we found out, and by the way, this is all going on through a pandemic that they were able to get this LOI, no easy feat. The one thing we found out with the Supper Club is commerce is a great way to cross-pollinate our neighborhoods. When folks who live in Lake Ida will go to Mr. Caesar's to get ribs, and they will go to Windy City, commerce is what gets people to cross-pollinate. And it's been amazing to meet people, not only the guys I played football with, but friends of theirs, and there's been such a connection that's coming out of this, and I believe these gentlemen, with their project, would keep that going. The parking issue, the set doesn't want it. They've said they don't want it. As far as retail goes, I know that's an issue. I just got a report today. Retail is being turned into industrial. That's what people are doing with retail property right now. They're turning it into industrial because a lot of what's going on with e-commerce is they're called dark stores, where basically they're not really selling goods. What they're doing is they're dropping the goods off so they can put them in a van and then drive them to the home where the goods are. The last before we even went into the pandemic, retail was taking a hit and restaurants were the saving grace. And now restaurants are in trouble. So I just think getting a grocery, a pharmacy, and of course a financial bank in that area will do a lot to bridge I-95 to Swinton. The plan that these gentlemen came up with, the community is good with it. Everybody I spoke to is good with it. Like I said, Equity was given a number of extensions. These gentlemen are asking for one in the middle of a pandemic, and they've promised a grocer. So I think that's pretty good. So I'm in favor of the BH3 project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Pastor Carla Mays, pastor of Ruby Nation Church at 200 Sterling Avenue in Delray Beach, and I am here to let you know that we, the community, and the members of Ruby Nation that make up the community in Delray Beach is definitely in favor of BH3 continuing this project, and we are asking that you all give them the time that they need so that they can continue. We know that it's been a long time coming, and we would really appreciate if we did not have to start over. And so I'm here to represent all the voices that could not be here today to let you know that all of them are in favor of BH3 continuing this project, and we hope that you would consider that in favor of them today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Paulus. My company is GFA International. We're located at 1215 Wallace Drive here in Delray Beach. If you've not had the opportunity to work with BH3, I think these guys are consummate professionals. You look at their resumes of who they have on staff. They've come from great development backgrounds. This isn't a Bush League operation that just blew into town and decided to set up shop and develop something. It is a group that is taking great pride. I want to thank them for opening my eyes. About a year ago, I would say, Laura, you were there with the Caribbean Festival, but they invited all the consultants, and it was really something that if you drive in and out of downtown, sometimes you overlook that gateway. And I think you spoke to the point about having a grocery store there within the community. I think it is something that's overdue. I just really do support the development. Personally, it keeps about 15 of our employees continuously moving throughout the process, and I know that we're not the only local consultant that's on the project. So I do thank the group for also thinking mindedly here about the people in the city of Delray and the businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Willie Caesar. My address is 712 East Shadow Lane Boulevard, Delray Beach, Florida. And I'm here to say that I support BH3. I think it's a great project. The city, the community want the grocer. Also, with the stores, and like someone said earlier, we're in the middle of a pandemic. People losing jobs. You can't get materials right now. Restaurants are closing. Everybody's taking a big hit. We're taking a big hit. We're making about 50% of what we was making. So for them to want to move forward with this and give job opportunities to people, I think it's amazing because nobody's doing that. And I support them 100%. And my thing is also is like, if you put the stipulations, I think the mayor said about a big price or whatever, if they don't meet the deadline, then you got money. If they do meet the deadline, then you please the community. And that's what the community want, all right? And that's why I'm here to support the community, support BH3, and like John said, if the other group got 6 or 7 extensions, if you give them this extension with stipulations or whatever you put in place, it's a win-win for everybody. If it don't come through, then you did your part, you pleased the community. If they didn't come through, then it's not on you, it's on them. But, this is what we want. We're behind it 100%, and I hope you guys do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else? You're coming forward, sir?
Hello, everyone. I had no intention when I walked into this meeting of standing up here, but I think we have a stacked house here.
Would you please give us
your
name and address, please? Give us your name and address, please.
I'm sorry?
Give us your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry, Harold Van Arnum, and 265 Northeast Fifth Avenue, and I'm a principal in Uptown. And I think that I agree with almost everyone that came up and spoke, and that was, we don't want to start all over. Well, we had started all over, and we have a project that was a result of 150 public meetings. We received approval from Planning and Zoning, from SPREV, from the City Commission, from the CRA, to build a project which we, as I stand here, are committed and will build if the approvals are for our project. Our project, from the COVID point of view, we don't believe that 4 years from now, 3-4 years from now, that any of our design criteria will have to change. We're committed to build exactly what we proposed and was approved. We could be in the ground as early as the spring and have this project up within probably less than 2 years. Now, with all due respect to BH3, and I will have to commend Mr. Schiller, and I'm on the board of the Arts Garage, and we're going to go back to live theater, and I think you will be a great producer. I mean, you have produced, what a show, everything but what was promised. And the promise was that you would deliver plans over a year ago. Then you promised you would deliver plans in January, and I don't want to bore the board. They already know about all this, and we've watched one promise after another promise just go by the wayside, but we've seen great shows, great giveaways, and great promotion. I sat here tonight feeling like, wow, where have I been? Anyway, I'm sorry to take this approach, but we've worked for almost 3 years. We have plans, complete and full drawings to build this project that are already completed and paid for. So starting all over.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public? Are you considered, I don't believe the developer can speak if you're part of the...
My name is Taylor Levy. I'm a resident of Delray Beach, Florida.
Sir, are you going to speak on behalf as a member of the public and not speak again as a member of the principal BH3? You can't have it both ways.
I can speak as a resident.
And then you'll not speak as the principal of BH3.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate everyone taking the time and everyone coming out this evening. In times like these, when cities now more than ever need to support their residents and businesses, is the board delaying development after receiving a community-centric project that benefits all? As Laura Simon had mentioned, and unfortunately understanding firsthand the dire situation we are in as a country and county, with over 50% of restaurants and small businesses failing due to this pandemic. We need to thoughtfully take into consideration the potentials that lie ahead. The real estate market is being supported by the lowest interest rates this country has ever seen, while showing the vertical instability it has by demonstrating the steepest decline in existing home sales and new construction starts in Q2. The price-to-earnings ratios in the stock market has analysts baffled, and the artificial inflation of the economy is being upheld by quantitative easing, which will undoubtedly have adverse effects with jobs, taxes, new businesses, and retail residential. Therefore, I implore you to take serious thought of what may be in front of us and issue BH3 and Levy Land Trust the extension to protect the community by beginning a project while anchors are still signing deals. The project will secure and provide hundreds of jobs during what may be a very bleak time ahead of us. By approving the extension today, we can put that plan in motion. The alternative is very simple. No grocer, no jobs, and no growth for a community that has waited decades for it. The CRA has the ability to ensure that this project can break ground and deliver a much-needed win for the Northwest-Southwest communities and greater Delray. As CRA board members who are urged to support economic growth in specific areas, please be conscious that this is one of those moments when people will look back and remember where each of you stood. Create the win for the West by voting today to give BH3 and Levy Land Trust the ability to deliver. As you heard, the community is counting on you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? If not, public comment is closed. The special meeting is regarding development of the Southwest 600, 700, 800 blocks of West Atlantic Avenue. I'm going to now turn the microphone over to the Executive Director, Ms. Renee Jamison, and our CRA attorney, Mr. DJ Duty.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Renee Jamison, Executive Director. So last week we were all here on December 10th to discuss a request letter that we received from BH3 Management related to their development of the 600, 700, 800 blocks of West Atlantic Avenue. The request letter was seeking amendments to the project phasing, project composition, which is reduced, and also an extension of time to get the development approvals. The outcome was not a blanket yes, we'd like to consider a fourth amendment, but that there were some concerns about considering a fourth revamp of the project when the first purchase and sale was executed in April 2019. We also heard that if a fourth amendment is entertained, the CRA was looking for some safeguards, that it would just to give us some more reassurances that a project will be built. And at that meeting, there was a consensus for staff to work with BH3 on what could possibly be terms for a fourth amendment and to follow up with a special meeting, which is why we're here today. Some of the points that we heard from the board were for BH3 to possibly waive force majeure, the idea of imposing a penalty if BH3 misses a deadline and the dollar amount of $1 million was put forward, and also maybe to add more housing or more parking. So this was the basis of our discussions that we've had with BH3 over the last week, which were very productive, I will say. We've had almost phone calls pretty much every single day and emails shared, so that I know that they're very eager to, to be here now to make this request. So at this point, we'll have DJ say a few remarks and then turn it over to BH3 to make their presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is DJ Duty. I'm here this afternoon to assist you in your deliberations, and toward that end, I'd like to put this proceeding in a proper legal context, if I could. You're here this afternoon to make a decision as to whether or not you authorize staff to proceed to negotiate a Fourth Amendment to the purchase and sale agreement that has been amended 3 times previously. I want to make it very clear to clarify the issue that may arose during the course of the public comments. You're not granting an extension today. All you're doing, we are asking to have a motion considered to approve or disapprove the staff proceeding to negotiate a Fourth Amendment to the purchase and sale agreement that would come back before you in January. You're not under any legal obligation to approve a Fourth Amendment should you even decide today to negotiate it. What I'd like you to consider is that when the Fourth Amendment comes before you, should you decide to entertain it and authorize us to negotiate with BH3, you're going to see a Fourth Amendment that's going to amend the definition of the project. You're going to see terms that will modify the earnest money deposit. You potentially will see language in the Fourth Amendment that will provide the closing will be in phases. It will have to extend the application date. It will have to extend the approval date, the permit date, and most importantly, the termination date. Also, based on our conversations over the course of the past week, we anticipate that you will see new language regarding the force majeure. Again, I'm just emphasizing that you're not approving any revisions to the purchase and sale agreement today. You're only authorizing staff to negotiate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Renee, will there be any presentations on the screen? Are you going to? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, BH3. Go ahead.
She's going to go first.
No.
Neil.
We just have the map. Here. No,
First,
done.
I'm going to ask that BH3 be allowed to speak up to 20 minutes, and then we'll get back to Renee.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I appreciate so much the opportunity to address you tonight. I want to thank you for the time that you've given us. I hope, and I will tell you, we don't need that amount of time, and we hope to get to your discussion and fairly quickly. We're here tonight on a very serious matter. No showmanship necessary. We're here tonight to ask you for a extension, as you know, and we're here to talk about what's changed since we negotiated with your staff. Every day since last meeting, I've been on the phone multiple times a day with Renee. We've had very productive conference calls with Renee and her staff, and we want to thank Renee and her staff for having these calls every day at 4 o'clock. With that, let me go through the project. Again, project description, 69 residential units. All of those residential units are workforce and affordable. Again, almost 20,000 square feet of retail, 26,680 square feet of commercial office. You see the project description of open space and green space, broken up into Frog Alley, 800 block open space, and some green space. 352 parking spaces. We've gone through the calculations. We've determined that those 352 that have been proposed are actually 24 over what the required would be, and you can see how it is broken down. Before I get to the variance from the PSA, I just want to highlight some really important aspects of not only the Always Delray plan, but about the West Atlantic Master Plan. And I just want to quote the master plan for 1 minute. Strategies of the West Atlantic Master Plan 2020 support the community's expressed preference for the built form and encourages the city to use the redevelopment of the public-owned parcels to create context-sensitive designs that will set a precedent for future redevelopment proposals in the area. However, to ensure that private investors are able to see a financial return on their investment, the plan suggests revising the development regulations to allow for greater flexibility and incentives to encourage mid-rise, 2 to 3 stories in the West Atlantic neighborhoods. And then there's a little bubble that follows community feedback, and there are a few bullet points. The community wants attracting neighborhood-serving businesses. There should be no physical difference between East and West Atlantic Avenue. Create opportunities for outdoor dining. Develop West Atlantic to be pedestrian friendly. Development along West Atlantic Avenue should be complementary to the existing residential neighborhoods. If that isn't what we've done with this new design and this revised project description, I don't know what is. But when you look further about one of the major beneficial aspects of this plan, and that is the fact that we're offering 69 workforce and affordable units, there are so many different policies that I've highlighted in the Always Delray plan. For instance, policy 6.3.3, identify strategies the city and its partners can employ to promote equitable and inclusive neighborhoods. That's what we're doing here. Wait, policy HOU 6.3.4, promote the development of accessory dwelling units as a wealth building tool for low, moderate, and high moderate income homeowners. One of the things that we've already decided to do, or not decided to, but have been working with staff, have come to the realization that those 5 townhomes on the 600 block could be used for first-time home buying programs in the Northwest Southwest. That builds equity into the project from the neighborhood, and we're excited by that. And then objective HOU 6.4, affordable housing through partnerships. Support and provide affordable and workforce housing strategies through the expansion of partnerships with public, quasi-public, nonprofit, and private agencies and organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what we'd be doing by working with BH3 on this project. You would be accomplishing all your goals and your policies from your brand new Always Delray Comprehensive Plan. I know that this is an issue, the difference between the PSA and existing. We've highlighted that for you. Again, I don't need to read it off for you, but you can see where the differences are. The differences, as you know and as you've heard from the public, is that we've met with the community. We've understood what the community wants. We've heard you and understood what you want. And we've adjusted the project accordingly. Additionally, the fact that we've locked up the national grocer on the 600 block has limited the building envelope even further. So, what are we talking about here tonight? So I wanted to remind all of you that we originally included a $250,000 deposit that remains in full effect under the PSA. We have, as a result of negotiations with your staff, have come up with another $250,000 accountability deposit that will be held in escrow and released as BH3 meets certain milestone events that obviously we would agree to. Phasing and conveyance. Again, one of the issues that we discussed was, when are you going to close on these properties? So we will close on each block separately to ensure that, that the development will occur on those blocks, and that we just don't get approvals and get the property and don't do anything with it. So, additionally, the 700 block, we have committed to initiating construction within 60 calendar days of receiving our first building permit. And then on the 800 block, we will initiate construction within 120 calendar days of obtaining our first building permit. As you know, the site plan and approval will be for the blocks together. So we anticipate filing for building permits at the same time too. There is no obfuscation about when we're going to start construction. Force majeure. It was asked that we waive all claims to force majeure. As part of our negotiation with your staff, if given this 10-month extension, we will agree to waive all force majeure eligible claims up to the date of the extension, meaning that any COVID-related claims we will be waiving. Any claims from past hurricanes or anything else that occurred prior to the date that this extension is signed, we will waive. The only things, truthfully, that we're concerned about are additional hurricanes or natural disasters. Who knows what could happen in 2021, God forbid. but we need to protect ourselves for that too. So for force majeure, we'll be waiving all of our claims up to the date of extension, and I think that that is a significant step, and it's trying to reach a compromise here. Additional consideration on the south end of the 600 block. Again, we feel very strongly that these townhomes are an excellent amenity and a benefit to the community. However, if the city would rather see some parking on those townhomes, that could be accommodated. However, we know that parking is an issue. We have offered to make a $100,000 contribution to a CRA parking fund. We know that the CRA A has additional properties that possibly could be used for surface parking, or B has programs in place already to beautify and update their existing parking lots. So that is the negotiations. Those are the results of the negotiations with your staff. Everyone wins. The community wins by getting a national grocer, 100% workforce and affordable housing, a compatible development that your comp plan and the West Atlantic Master Plan, that's what they call for. Desired uses provided. Again, we've met with the community, we've heard from the community, we know what the community wants, and we're trying our best to deliver what the community wants here. We still provide that Frog Alley feature, that open space, that community gathering space. It is smaller, for sure, but it's even better now. It's enhanced with all the water features that are on that 700 block. The jobs and economic opportunity are still there. You saw the amount of office space, the people that we're not only bringing to the site, but the jobs that we're creating at the site for members of the Northwest, Southwest, and for the whole city. And then lastly, we believe is a huge benefit, and we really would love to see this happen, but the first-time home buyers program for the Northwest, Southwest on those 5 townhomes. The CRA wins. You deliver a project to the community. You increase the tax base from what is there today, which is minimal. You continue progress during a pandemic, and I can't stress that enough. We don't know how long this pandemic is going to last. Vaccines are so promising, but we just don't know. You double your deposit and ensure that we meet our deadlines or we forfeit that money. And then lastly, we've created a $100,000 contribution to increase parking in the CRA, or however the CRA board sees fit how to use it. As your council said at the last meeting, and has said on the phone with us, this project hits all of the criteria, all the main points of the RFP. And we hope that you will vote to give us the opportunity to continue working with your staff. We've literally had a week, the whole week of Hanukkah. Okay, tonight is the 8th night, or tonight's the 7th night. Tonight's the 8th night. And while the menorah goes out tonight, when you look back at history, the light never did go out, right? Everybody came back to the temple. The Maccabees won. And at the end of the day, we hope that we can have some more time. There's a little bit more oil left in that lamp to work with your staff and to bring this project home, because this is what our community deserves, and this is what the CRA deserves. And with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Schiller. Is there any additional? Renee?
No, Commissioner.
Okay. Attorney, did you? Very good. Let me turn off mine. Very good. Okay, if there's nothing else from any of the 3 of you, it's to the board. First, I'd like to call on Commissioner Cassell.
Thank you for calling on me. Thank you for that presentation, and also thank you for your hard work over the week. I know that must have been challenging with it being a holiday, and I appreciate that. I think I really want to just address the people sitting here first to say, what is that beeping? My goodness. Excuse me.
Excuse me, Commissioner Cassell, is there anything we can do about that?
Yeah, what is that sound?
Getting to be a little annoying.
We're working on it right now. Darian's working on it.
Okay.
Thank you. I guess I'll continue. Ms. Odom, thank you for your input. You're always constructive and involved, and I appreciate that. But one of the things that I wanted to point out, and this goes also to Mr. Caesar and Mr. Brewer, I believe you said the set doesn't want parking. I think one of the things that we realize in retrospect as the city has developed is that we're really lacking in parking. And if you look around the city, there aren't places to put parking in the downtown area to make it more accessible for people to come here. And clearly what our desired outcome is for more people to come here. So when you think about parking, if you look, I think, at Old School Square, the cost of that parking garage for the land, for the spaces, I believe it calculates out to $35,000 to $40,000 per space. And I think IPIC was about $40,000 per parking space. And the reason why I'm sharing that with all of you is this is the taxpayers' money. And this property was assessed at something like $14 million at one point in time. And one of our jobs is to look at the city and how it develops, and how, as it develops, it can accommodate you. And I will say that if we are lacking in parking, it's not a good situation long-term. So when you're thinking about parking, try to think about it as bringing more people that we would like to be visiting the city, not we don't want parking here. I understand that feeling, but that it doesn't work out that way. Mr. Caesar, you had talked about the need for retail, and I totally appreciate that. This project is actually reducing the retail. And Mr. McCray, where is James McCray? Is he still here? I just wanted to thank him for always being thoughtful and productive. I guess my question would be, I appreciate your offer with respect to the accountability and the milestones, but I think the accountability milestones means you'd be getting that money back incrementally over time, and I would rather see it at the conclusion. That's my feeling. And I know I met with Zach and we had a very nice conversation, and he was looking for the number to be reduced because you already have the 250 in. I would be amenable to something slightly lower, but I would not be amenable to it being an accountability bond that breaks down over time. And then with respect to the force majeure, Neil, may I ask you one question on that? So when you say you're excluding COVID, you're saying up to this point in time, but this point going forward, or excluding COVID for all time in the contract?
Can you give me, I want to tell you the answer that I know is right, but I want to make sure it's right.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yes.
While they're conferring, thank you for taking care of the noise.
Thank you so much. So our intent was from the day the extension is forward, anything back, anything historic.
So COVID's on the table just from the date of that extension forward.
I just want to make sure that I'm accurate.
I believe I know what you're saying, but feel free to clarify.
The answer is, our intent is for everything backwards. Moving forward, if COVID strikes the city and everything shuts down and we can't process, that we would want that to be a force majeure event. We don't anticipate that happening, but obviously we didn't anticipate the pandemic anyway.
Right.
Our real concern were events like major hurricanes or major other disasters that would shut the city down, and we wouldn't be able to have plans processed, or we wouldn't have any control over that.
Okay.
But
Thank
that's
you.
definitely, again, that's further language that, if granted the consensus, we could talk about with your staff.
Thank you for your time. I think those were my questions.
Was that it?
Yes, I believe so.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I said yes, I believe so. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Cassell. Commissioner Brooks? I'm sorry. Commissioner Brooks?
Good evening to everyone. Thank you for those that, with their comments. Thank you for the BH3. Thank you to
Commissioner
the board.
Brooks, would you mind? I'm afraid your mask is. Thank
Okay. You get me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you to everyone for being here this evening. But honestly, you know, my reservation is just like last week or when we met last time. Can you guys really get it done? You know, putting all this together is nice, but you know, that's where I still stand. Can we really count on you guys to deliver like you said you would before? And here we are again. That's where I stand. That's the only thing I have to say, really, honestly and truly. Can you guys really deliver? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. Commissioner Ryan? Boylston? Commissioner Boylston?
Of a week, and I know it's a holiday, and thank you to staff and BH3 for working, I'm sure, around the clock. I was also in touch with Mr. Schiller almost daily. So really, things haven't changed for me. I think it'd be unreasonable to not provide you an extension in a global pandemic. You're not asking for an unreasonable extension. With the 60-day turnaround on breaking ground, we're looking at a year. And by the way, this, you know, as we all know, we're all wearing these, right? So it's not gone, it's not done, and you're still making that commitment. That's the easy part. Looking at the project and having the project molded by the community and also by just the economics of the world that we're in today, it's also, I think, a reasonable request. Like last week, though, I'm still concerned about the parking. I get that we don't want the big parking garage, and I also understand that the goal of this project is not necessarily to bring a bunch more people downtown and have them park there, and then get in a golf cart to go downtown.
Excuse
right?
me?
So,
continue, Commissioner.
However, $100,000 is just not going to cut it. The $4,600 in lieu cost per parking space in the northwest-southwest area of our downtown that's the cost. The cost per every parking space that you don't want to provide, it's $4,600, which is a steal compared to most of our downtown, where I think it gets as high as $25,000 a spot. I could be off by $1,000 or $2,000. So I'd be in favor of moving forward today, but in the negotiations, and I've already shared this with staff, you have to get closer to making up for not just 50 spots, which is about what this calculates out to right now, but you need to get closer to 100 for me. And if that means, and in the RFP it does say about off-site parking, if that means that you're able to supply off-site parking, great. If that means that you're paying into what I think a CRA parking fund is similar to an in lieu, well then you got to look at the numbers and make those calculations, because that's the in lieu cost of that area. So we're getting there. I think, listen, that's amazing. And we say a week, but it was really, what, 4 business days? Not even. So I appreciate that, and that's what closes the gap for me come next meeting. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Boylston. Commissioner Gray?
Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that came out, and that our community, this project has been a long, long, long time coming. And I believe that every one of us up here, every one of us in this room wants this project to move forward. We are not trying to hold up the project. The only thing about it is that this project has changed. It has changed tremendously. It has changed from, as you've seen, 165 units to 69 units. Everywhere in the United States, Delray Beach, West Palm Beach County needs housing. We need housing. And so for me, that 169, moving it down to 69, even though they're all workforce housing, and our ordinance calls for workforce housing in new projects, right? And so with that, they're also, when they're being creative, they're on the high end of the spectrum, not affordable, because in your original slides, you just had up there workforce. And I know you know that we want to make sure that there's some affordable housing in these units, so you said affordable housing as well. I could support this project if you make sure that these units, the majority of the units, are affordable housing, not so much workforce housing. You've been given the land for free. You've reduced the project tremendously. You've reduced the parking. And I, too, like my community, have spoken that we do not, because there was conversations with the DDA downtown that used to say, DMC, hey, we need more parking for downtown, let's go build it out in the Northwest, Southwest, West Atlantic Avenue. That is, and everyone in my community knows that, and we're afraid of that. And so that's the reason why we're saying, no, we don't want this parking. But we do need parking for this project. A Publix by itself, if you look on Linton, they have at least 100, I don't know, maybe 100, 200 parking spaces just for Publix. So if we're talking about a whole project at this magnitude and only 200, 300 parking spaces, and I'm glad to see you increase some of the parking spaces since I talked to you guys a couple of weeks ago. It was 207, now it's, I'm sorry? 352. So are we allowed to count the street parking as well into our project? Because I see on the slide they're counting street parking, which belongs to the city or FDOT, whoever it belongs to. So are we allowed to?
Can we put that slide back up?
We would have to check with the city. I can ask Anthea, she's actually watching. So I guess if you guys, there may be a requirement to do a public parking off-site or on the street parking.
No, I mean, they're adding 5 units, 5 parking spaces in one block and some other in other blocks. So I want to know, are they allowed to, I mean, can they do that? Can they legally count the street parking as part of their parking mandatory?
Yeah, go ahead, please, go ahead.
Is this the slide? Is this the slide? Would you please put the slide up that she's, thank you. Is that it?
No.
There's another slide.
Hi. Thank you so much for the question.
Do we see this? Is that it?
Yes, so there are 21 on-street parking spaces. I don't believe that all those 21 parking spaces are in existence today, but we can get further clarification. I'll find out I'll call staff tomorrow or after this meeting to get further clarification on that, but that is a great question, Commissioner Gray, and I think that's another reason why we should be having more time to negotiate with your staff. And if I may address your workforce housing question, we know that the city is getting an abundance of the high workforce housing and not the mix that your workforce housing ordinance really is intended to provide, and we're sensitive to that. Additionally, I just want everybody to understand that the workforce housing proposed is not a way to generate any sort of density bonus or anything like that, which is what you see before you many, many times. People offering 20, 25, 30% workforce housing so they can get extra units. We're not doing that here. We're offering all of these units as affordable workforce because we recognize that this makes the project fit into the community much better. We realize that we provide real housing opportunities for the community in the project by doing that. And I may also say, and to address Commissioner Boylston's point about additional parking and your point about additional housing, by giving us more than 7 days total, we can investigate off-site parking, additional off-site parking opportunities because we've already started looking, additional housing opportunities because we've already started looking, but we just need some more time. We hear all of you very loud and clear. We have calls set for after this meeting to go through everything and ensure that we've heard everybody correctly so that when we sit down with your staff, we can do so in a comprehensive fashion.
Okay, also, you mentioned about having these units for my community, Northwest Southwest community. What is the price point, just so that everyone here could be clear, because those units are not for my community? Can you please tell us how much those units are going to be sold for, and also the first-time homeowner program, if you're selling them, that's not a program that you put in and make sure. That's something that is something that first-time home buyers can and will qualify for. So that's not just a plan. I just wanted to let my community know that that's just something that is given. If they are indeed first-time home buyer and you're selling it. Can you tell us how much these units are going to be sold for?
With all due respect, Commissioner, we haven't, I don't believe that we've even looked at what the rents or the prices could be. We do know that, again, we've made the commitment to make them all workforce and affordable. And I know that the city has income limits. I know the county has different income limits. And we're going to abide by those income limits. And again, not just the high.
Right.
We'll do it amongst all.
Just for the record, and just because I'm a realtor, I know that in the one bedroom, you're selling a lot of the one bedroom units. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom units will probably be for rental at least $2,500 and above, if that is. And then if you're selling them, they're probably going to be at least $300,000 to $500,000. That's, just to be clear for people in my community, when you say they're for the Northwest Southwest neighborhood, given $11,000 is the average income in the community, that does not make that affordable. So we need to be honest about when we say there's for my community, what that price point, and I'm okay with that, but we need to be honest about telling them that this is designed specifically for the people in my community.
May I just respond, Madam Chair, real fast?
Certainly.
And just heard from
Certainly.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for the time. So we'd like to point out just a couple of things. The 18 units on Fifth, those are two bedroom units, excuse me. Those are average out to $1,350 in rent, those 2 bedroom units. Additionally, I have the prices from the county in terms of low, mod 2, and middle incomes. And as you know, low income category is 60 to 80%, which...
Can you please give us a number, because a lot of people that are listening don't know what 80 to 60% is. Can you please give us that number?
Yeah, with all due respect, this is this year's or last year's. This is 2019, so this isn't even 2020. I don't know, I think it's, with all frankness, I think it's a little unfair to tell you how much we're going to do in rent, because we just don't know, other than the fact and commitment that all of the units will be workforce and affordable. Additionally, as far as the first-time home buying program for the townhomes, we just had that conversation with staff this week. That's something that we are committed to and want to work with staff for. However, we can make it happen, whether it is a federal program or something that the CRA can work on together with us to ensure that members of this community have the opportunity to own those townhomes. And lastly, what I said in the presentation is that by making these 69 units workforce and affordable, that we offer housing opportunities to people in the Northwest Southwest District. And because we're making them affordable and workforce, and because it's based on median income, I have a very good feeling that, yeah, these are real housing opportunities for people in the Northwest Southwest.
All right. I beg to differ. We'll see what you price those at. But we have to have a way to have some type of teeth into this, because I believe, and we don't know, I'm not for sure, we've seen it a lot in the community. It just goes up, and we can't afford it. So I would like to see a little bit more teeth into that. Having a little bit more teeth in it, you're saying that we have a $250,000 that you gave earlier. Yes, that's the escrow dollars. Am I correct, legal? Those are dollars that they've given, which is not a.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The $250,000 is in escrow.
Okay.
DJ, we couldn't hear.
Yes, ma'am. The $250,000 is in escrow pursuant to the contract.
Okay, I personally could be in favor of, and I'll wait to hear what everyone else says, but I could be in favor of going forward with the amendment, with continuing to negotiate. I am not in favor of the 250. I think that we need to have more accountability. I agree with Commissioner Cassell that those dollars should not go back at point, but at the end. I would like to see that increase back up to the 1 million that they asked for. If you're so sure that this project is going to move forward, you're so sure that you're going to build this project, I don't see where that is a issue when we're the ones basically asking to give up everything, we the CRA, give up smaller project, less parking, housing, everything we're being asked for the extension, and this is not the first or the second, this is the fourth extension that they're going to be asking for. And we mentioned another proposal that was done a couple of years ago. That is something that we have been trying to avoid this commission, not to keep going back, not to keep having the extensions, not to keep the promises and everything. And so in order for us to do that, and in order for me to support, which I really want this project to work, and I believe everyone here does again, you have to give a little bit more too. You and our community is coming out begging us, asking us, we want to do this, but we have to put things into place so that we could be protected as well. The force majeure, I think that, leading up to it, I'm a little concerned about like this next year COVID being there, but also we need to make sure that they're still moving forward with the project, because before March, before the pandemic, you asked for an extension. And so we get it that during this time, but you asked for an extension prior to that. This year, last year, this was a year to date. So, and it wasn't a pandemic. So I don't know if it's quite fair for you to say that because of the pandemic, we're here at the table right now. So I would like to see those things in place. I could move forward with the extension. I would like for the extension to be a little shorter. I think that if you could do this and you're moving forward, and you had time to take out the affordable house, the housing, and you had time to take out the parking. So I think that you could make this work with someone else. But we're willing. We just need these things in place for us and for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gray. Do you want to respond? Just make it short, please.
And I thank you for your comments, Commissioner Gray. I just want to go through the three amendments that have been made, because the first one was the workforce housing that we extended the deadline. Number two was a 60-day extension. Number three was the EJS lease. That was not something that was an amendment to the PSA that your staff has asked for the additional year for EJS. Obviously, we were in wholehearted support of that amendment, but that is not an amendment that we've asked for. So I just want to point that out for the record.
I just want to clarify, the first amendment was for the affordable housing, the off-site.
The off-site affordable.
The off-site, well, there wasn't even this, it was the off-site, the
work for the 18 units.
The 18 unit off-site, yeah.
18 units.
Madam Chair, one quick, back to the 18 units. I'm glad you said that. The 18 units, you have those on MLS or something that I've seen out there, that you have those up for sale, legal. If they sell those units, what does that do to this project?
They're obligated under the present terms to provide us with a plan to relocate those units.
That's the present plan.
I'm sorry?
The current plan. It's the current plan that we're talking about.
No, should they have an intent to sell, and there is discussion regarding that, we've we've taken the position, they have listed them as an intent to sell. They should provide a 60-day notice of a plan.
Do we
of
have
the
that? Because
60 or 90-day relocation.
do we have that? Because it has been up. Is it still for sale?
Let me find out.
Maybe they should, Daniel, maybe you should come up to the mic and please introduce yourself. That's all right. Neil, you can stay up there too.
Daniel Levinson, thank you.
Nope.
Oh,
Just didn't want him to sit
6
down.
feet. The 18 units, which we've already delivered, is on top of the 69 units. The workforce housing covenant, if it run, and council can correct me if I'm wrong, but if the workforce housing covenant stays there, it doesn't matter who owns it, it's subject to the workforce housing covenant. And the relocation is only required if that workforce housing covenant were to be lifted, which is not our intention.
I didn't ask you to identify yourself. I didn't hear you identify yourself. Identify yourself.
Daniel Levinson, 1750 Lake Drive, Delray Beach.
BH3.
Yes, ma'am.
Legal, could you please explain that? Because that was a lot of legal stuff that we need to hear from you.
I'm not sure I can address those comments other than tell you what the contract provides. Should purchaser, that's BH3, desire to redevelop or sell the properties at 11 Southwest 6th Avenue and 21 Southwest 6th Avenue, or relocate the units, purchaser shall provide the CRA written notice of its desire at least 90 days prior to taking action, and shall, 1, identify potential locations of the new workforce housing within sub-areas 3, 4, and 8 of the CRA district, propose the same amount or more workforce housing units for the remainder of the 40-year term, and 3, provide a specific relocation plan for the existing tenants.
Thank you.
Okay, so they're for sale, so do we have that?
There's no contract on the, there's no contract on the property, and again, I don't think we should get into legal debate, but the 18 units and the workforce housing covenant stand today, and to the extent that were to change, we would have to provide 18 fresh ones, but let's not forget that we're now suggesting to provide 69 workforce and affordable, whereas before, we only had to provide 12 additional units. So instead of 12, we have 69 with the redesign. So you actually exceed the number of requisite units materially.
Legal, you'll make sure that we're not on the losing end of that, please.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I couldn't understand your question.
Can we have someone look at Commissioner Gray's microphone, please? Is it?
I just want to make sure that we're ahead of this and that we will not be losing any units and adding them on to what they're proposing now. So could legal please stay on top of this?
Yes,
by the way, I agree with the comment. There's no loss of units. Those 18 units remain as workforce housing.
Okay, thank you, legal.
Thank you. Are you done, Commissioner Gray? I'd like to call on Commissioner Franco next, please.
Chair, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
You may make a comment before we go forward.
Go ahead.
Oh, Commissioner Brooks had an emergency and he had to leave, but he's on the phone.
Oh, okay.
So just so everybody knows, he's here.
Very good. Thank you. Wish him well. Commissioner Franco,
Thank you,
have
Madam
the
Chair.
floor.
Renee, first, thank you to you and your team. You did a great job here. Could you please, are you in control of the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Could you go back to the slide with the negotiation?
Yes.
So I think, at the last meeting, myself and my colleagues, we did ask a lot, and I've heard, at least from the colleagues that have spoken so far, that some of the things, the money deposit and a couple of other things, still want to be addressed even more. But the one thing that struck out, particularly to me today, is the grocery. I know Mr. Chris Caesar said groceries are the #1 need for the community. I think Ms. Odom said a similar comment. I think 90% of the comments today all talked about Publix. I don't know if that's a word I'm supposed to say, but we'll just go with national grocer. Mr. Schiller, in his remarks, said quote, you locked up a grocery. For the record, what's locked up mean?
Locked up, again, Neil Schiller for the record, means that we have a signed letter of intent from Publix.
So for me, and I'm not a real estate expert or anything of that nature, to me, that's almost as worthwhile as this bottle of water. What's it mean? I mean, doesn't it have to go to a construction committee or things of that nature?
Yeah, do you want to show the Publix timeline? So this is the grocer timeline that we've shared, and I apologize for that. But for the size, hard to read. I think that this is not your average Publix LOI. In fact, based on what my client has told me, it's not your average Publix LOI. And maybe, Dan, you want to come up and speak to the situation with Publix and how that, it's not just, it is a binding letter of intent.
Yeah, I can barely read that as well, so if you can't, that makes all of us apologize for that. It's a signed LOI, and that's typical in commercial real estate leasing. I appreciate the question, Commissioner. What I know is that we resurrected their appetite for this location. I can tell you, and to be candid, after they saw the hearing last week, they certainly did not have the greatest feeling about everything, and they want to see that we have buy-in and not just, the downside, but everyone in the city giving us support, the commissioners, mayor, giving us support for this project. And I believe that, I know factually that they had real estate committee approval, so that's a great point that you raised earlier, and that it can absolutely get approved once again, but it does need to go down the path. They're the 800-pound gorilla, and as we've shared with, I think most of you, of a laundry list of grocers. Some went bankrupt, some, in fact, all of the other ones had no interest, and we exhausted every resource, some of the best nationwide brokers to source alternate grocers. We didn't want to just have one option. But working as hard as we had, and we have quite a sizable team working on it, we ultimately got them back to the table during a pandemic. And let's not forget, these are people that give shares to all their employees and provide hundreds of jobs and all kinds of incentive programs. So I think, and we've heard from the community, that they're a perfect fit. But the LOI is as strong as one could be. And again, it's not the first time they visited this property, to know the familiarity with it and knowing that they have the appetite to go there.
And it's my understanding that they looked at the area several years ago. It fell apart for one reason or another. I'm not privy to that information. The one thing I know about this pandemic is two areas that have done well are grocery stores, including Publix. They're having record sales, and construction. And I guess the frustrating part, with respect for myself, is I look at this timeline, and the deal was kind of agreed to around April of 2019. And we haven't really seen any building. And I'm not pointing any fingers or blame. There's been a lot that has gone on with our city, with the world, everything. But overwhelmingly, it's interesting. I have colleagues that are interested in parking, housing, which are all very important to this neighborhood, this area. But what I hear overwhelmingly is Publix, Publix, Publix. You heard it here today. So to me, I'm concerned that that would fall apart again, and then we'd be back here in 8 months doing this again. So and like I said, I say that with respect, and I understand everyone's working very hard. Mr. Schiller, I know, has been working very, very hard based on all the conversations I've had with him. But I mean, to me, that's the big ticket item, I guess, per se.
And by the way, we agree. We all know that this, one of the fundamental elements of this RFP was having a grocer, and every early conversation and most, if not all, conversations in the current environment are grocer, food desert. I've heard it from commissioners, I've heard it from the community. We all have, so we understand the concern. And I agree, what I've read is that many have done well. The ones that survived, thrived, but not all did that. And this supermarket business is a very thin margin business. So they're all about volume and being in the right geography. We already know that there are Publix that exist not far from here. Again, we have them engaged. I can't speak on their behalf. I wouldn't want to speak on their behalf, but they're engaged. They signed the LOI. It's not like a letter was put out and they just signed it. This was extensively negotiated. We understood the sensitivities of the city. Keep in mind, we're in the middle, right? We want to deliver to you all and to the community, and we want to get a deal done, and there's business going on with them, but they drive, like any large corporation, they drive a lot of the process, and we need to be respectful of that if we want them to come along and get engaged. But they are very much engaged. They want to get this done, and I believe that we can make this happen when they know that you all support what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Petrolia.
Okay, great. I echo my colleagues' appreciation for everything that you guys have done over the last couple of few days, and in the weeks even previous. Also, our staff at the CRA appreciate it, and thank you all for coming out and sticking it out with us. I wanted to mention a couple of things. I'm going to start with the grocery store. The grocery store seems to be the biggest pinnacle of everybody's concern. That grocery store was not brought in by of course, the BH3 had to go get the grocery store, but that was part of the RFP. If they couldn't get the grocery store, it was over. It's a done deal. So in our RFP is a requirement that they must find a grocery store. So I think it's great that we are looking at Publix, but we were looking at Publix before BH3 even got involved. Basically the same company, the same subsidiary, which was the Pasadena Group, which is their real estate company. So this is not new for this particular 600 block. The second thing is that I heard the constant kind of echo, let's not start over. That's where we are. We're starting over. We are absolutely at ground zero right now, and it's 2 years in with BH3. That's my frustration, because we have not, as a group and as BH3, delivered to you. And that's my problem. That's the reason why I said, listen guys, if you want my vote, step up to the plate, put $1 million out there in a bond. I don't want this deposit that's refundable, or it was an accountant, wait a second, what was it called? Accountability bond or accountability deposit. I want something that says from them, we're getting this done, hell or high water. That's what we're doing. We're getting it done because we can't afford to lose $1 million. We've been sitting here for 2 years. And by the way, we haven't had a pandemic for 2 years. Okay? And that's the reality of the situation. 2 years later, we're here at square one. Now, what makes me think that we're not going to be there in 10 months with nothing to show for it? That's the problem that I've got. We either have to deliver, and these guys have to be with us to deliver, or we need to move on. It's time to cut bait or get serious about moving forward. And that's the reason why I said $1 million, because $1 million makes a difference. And that's going to get something done, trust me. It has nothing to do with being difficult. These guys are the guys that we picked. We thought that they had the best plan. And I'm going to be honest with you. What they brought before to us, again, iteration number 3 for me, since they've been involved, or maybe 4, losing count, is okay. I'm okay with it, guys. The problem is that is it really going to get done? Or is this just another one of those things to keep us on the line? And I can't do that to this community again and again and again and again. We just continually promise and not deliver, promise and not deliver. Okay, so let's talk about some other things. Parking. I know that the community doesn't want the parking. I get it. You don't want these big, huge structures backing up to the community. I didn't like it either, to tell you the truth. But here's the downside. If we do not address parking on the front end, we're going to be addressing it on the back side. How do I know this? Because every other area that is alongside of Atlantic Avenue has the problems. Go to the east, go into the neighborhoods, ask them. We've had to try to figure out how to keep people from parking down in communities and on your streets, and then coming back to the car at 2 a.m. and making all sorts of noise and breaking into cars or hurting people, damaging people's property. That's happening in this town. Maybe not in the area that we're talking about in West Atlantic, because there's no businesses down there right now that are operating. But that's coming. And so what we have to do is to make sure that they're not parking on your streets and not causing havoc after hours for those that block north and south. That's the next best place to go when there's no parking downtown. So that was one of the reasons why. And I have to tell you, I love the way they put this up here, and it's a little deceptive. 206 spaces plus is how they use it. We had 700 spaces going in over there. That was the figure. So we have really dialed it back. And so we're not getting that. And that was one of the main reasons why some of these people on this panel chose to go with this project over the other project. Okay, so now we don't have that anymore. That's not the enticement, and we have to understand that that's going to affect us in the future. Okay, so let me ask the question: Did the CRA ever have an LOI from Publix when we were going through the process with the same group, Pasadena, or we never got to that point? Just curious.
I don't recall off the top of my head, but we were very close. We were trying to get a LOI.
Okay. As to the extensions, yes, this will be the fourth one. The gentleman is correct, some of them we're not involved with, but we had, I don't know how many extensions on the last project, the last time that we were going down this path, and where did it get us? It got us nowhere. Again, when we keep doing extensions, you have to start asking yourself, what is it that they're doing? Why are we having to buy all this time? It's important that we understand what's going on and that we're just continuing to add time on, where we need to actually get a shovel into the ground. And I don't disagree that we're all on the same page with you. Everybody wants the same thing. We want to see action happen on West Atlantic. And there's nothing more hurtful to me than to say that we have not started that on West Atlantic. And that's the reason why I'm so frustrated, and I feel like we have to make it so that it's either happening or we're going to get a nice big check back and we can move on at that point in time. What does that accountability deposit mean? And let me see if I understand this. As they hit marks, they get more of that money back, so there's less and less money in that account?
As I understand the proposal, the money would be placed in escrow deposit at the time the Fourth Amendment would be executed, and at such time they made certain milestones, application date, site plan approval, they'd be able to draw down on it.
Yeah, so by the time it gets to the very, very end, there's very little left in there, and that's actually the mark that we really want to get to, which is basically submitting and going forward with the project. Is that basically how it works?
That's my understanding, yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Well, I'm not interested in that. I want something that's going to be able to be paid out in the event that they don't get to the point where we're actually moving forward. Force majeure. Force majeure is a problem for me as well, because if I understand this, I mean, the state constantly has emergencies, and these emergencies allow for developers to tack on 6-month intervals to their project, okay? So even if it doesn't affect them, they can still do that. And we're talking about, I don't, you make me nervous when you're standing, so if you could, I'll ask you to come up afterwards, but just sit so that I don't have to see you out of the corner of my eye and make me nervous. So blue tide, red tide, anything that's happening, Zika virus, doesn't affect us, but guess what? Developers get to use that and go and ask for additional 6-month periods of time. We have projects in our town that have been extended out 2 years. And so that's something that is a problem for me if we're talking about the same thing, which I believe we are, and if there is still COVID after we have extended this, they can ask for it.
Yes, ma'am. That's
a problem.
I haven't raised the issue, but I can suggest to you that during the course of the discussion this evening, that issue came to mind. I can advise you that in other jurisdictions where I serve in the capacity as attorney, I have had developers waive their rights under an executive order. You can do it. That would be up to the individual developer.
Okay, so if I can just, alert my colleagues, because I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but we have even the Swinton Social Project. That project is still in play. I mean, I don't know if everybody understands that. And I remember when Mayor Glickstein basically said, you've got 6 months and that's it. What happened was they added on all of this time for all of these different things, and now they have, 2 years on that project that extends it. So, that force majeure, that type of thing is very, detrimental to us getting a project done. Once again, that's the reason why force majeure and asking the party before us to say that they're not going to do it. Maybe we say only for, something that affects our town, with the exception of COVID. We're on the outside of COVID, so, that shouldn't be a concern from my perspective. And then we talk about the workforce housing. I think that's where we are. I understand that we're going for workforce housing and affordable housing, and that's great. And I think that Commissioner Gray made very valid points. Is this really for our community? Probably not. It still is housing that is more affordable than what is coming on the market, which is a good thing. There are 18 off-site units, and from what I was listening to DJ, our attorney, explain and read from the agreement, the onus is on the developer on those extra 18 properties. The onus is not on them selling it and then it be transferred to the other developer. It sounds to me like the way that was written, that the onus sticks with the developer. So in the event that the developer sells those 18 units, that by the way took a longer time, I have to tell you, I'm gonna have to call you out on it. When you guys came to us and you said, we can get that to, it was 2018, we can get this to you guys on the books in maybe it was 2019, because I don't remember. Anyway, one of those in June or July, I remember saying, listen guys, can you really deliver at that point? Don't tell us that you're going to deliver something and then not deliver it. So they ended up putting it until September, and of course, we didn't have it even delivered then. It was sometime later. Regardless, those 18 units are important, and they should not be mixed into the 69. That's an addition, because that was an extra separate decision.
It is.
Yeah, okay. So I just want to make sure that, well, listen, when Dan was up here, he basically was explaining how he's bringing 69 units and we should be happy with it, and I am, but it's on top of. I don't want to lose sight of that, and like Commissioner Gray said, we need to make sure that we're keeping on top of that and also understand how that contract works, because I don't want to be having another, being that it's on the MLS, another person or another entity involved in having to maintain that 18 units. This is their 18 units that they've made the promise of, so in the event that they move or they sell that, they've got to provide 18 fresh units somewhere else. They should be responsible for it. Us not having to chase another landlord down is what I'm trying to say. These are the guys that basically promised it. These are the guys that need to deliver to our city from that point forward. So in a nutshell, it's going to take a bigger price tag, fully losing. We're not gaining and taking back as time's going on. You get us to that point where basically you're delivering, and that's what it's going to take for me to say yes to this project. And I said that before. So.
Could I ask for a point of clarification on an issue?
Commissioner Cassell?
Yes, thank you.
Let me ask, are you completed, Commissioner?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cassell, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Perhaps the question is to Renee. My understanding about the 18 is they roll into the project because the project incorporates a greater number of workforce than it originally did. Not in addition to, beyond.
Well, not necessarily. I guess they would count however they're being put forward. I think they are in addition to, but I'd ask the BH3 to clarify.
Thank you for clarifying.
Good evening. Yes, this is Neil Schiller again. Those are in addition to. And Madam Chair, I really don't want to prolong this meeting any longer, but I must correct the record.
As long as you can do it in a short.
Very short. With all due respect, Commissioner Petrolia, Mayor Petrolia, the deadlines of extension for states of emergency have to do with development orders. That's state statute. And those are not force majeure events under this code. And so I know it's confusing, and I just want to be very clear that states of emergency for red tide, blue tide, opioid crisis, those are not force majeure events under the agreement. I can read the agreement, and I know your council knows this too. Those are not force majeure events. Those are extensions of development orders according to Florida state statute. And so we have not asserted force majeure for any of those states of emergency that did not, and by the way, we haven't asserted it. We have, force majeure would not be eligible for those states of emergency. And may I just remind this board that force majeure extensions must be approved by this board. And so if we were to come in for a force majeure extension, it is in the agreement that you must approve it. So I just want to be very clear. The extension of development orders is completely different from the force majeure. Thank you.
That's the reason why I asked the attorney on staff, because I didn't understand that nuance or that difference as well, and I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, because that is a concern of mine. I know we've got a blue tide now going on, and that's probably going to be another state of emergency for the state, which may be another way to be able to tack on time. And I said, time is of essence to this panel.
And I believe that our attorney wants to hear. If you
just to further comment, I think the distinction is accurate. It's not force majeure, but I want to go back to the original point. Those emergency orders, I believe, can be waived by a developer.
And that's fair. And lastly, I just want to say, time is of the essence. Time is of the essence here too. If you were so gracious enough to let us meet and negotiate with your staff, we would actually like to bring this back before your regularly scheduled January meeting. We want to move. We don't want to sit and wait 6 weeks to then start on the site plan application. We want to know now. I'm sure you want to know now, and I'm sure the public wants to know now. So we'll be committed to working over the holidays to bring something back to you sooner before your regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Has everyone? Okay, thank you.
I just want to clarify just one thing.
Just very quickly.
I've just heard it so many times. This is not the fourth extension. This is the fourth amendment, and that was reviewed today, what those 4 amendments were. And I just want everyone to know, this is not the 4th time we've given them extension. That's not accurate. One of the amendments was to keep EJS in their building, for an extra year in their leasing agreement. One of them was for the 18 affordable homes that aren't part of anything we're talking about today. They're built. There's people living in them. So I just want to make sure. This is the 4th Amendment, not the 4th extension, and some of those had nothing to do with what we're talking about today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Has everyone had theirs? Okay, my turn. Last but not least, bringing up the rear. Unfortunately, this is not enough for me. This is not the agreement that we made 22 months ago. And I'd like to correct the record, or state for the record, that the pandemic has only been in force or acknowledged for the past 8 months. Where have you been for the past 12 months or previous 12 months to that? As I have said many times, this is a P3 project, which means the developer and the city is in partnership. We have had, I would like to say, at least 2 different occasions where we've directed the developer to stay in touch with the CRA. They have failed to do so. I find that very disconcerting. What is going to stop them from continuing with that behavior? That was my number 1 point. We need housing. We don't just need, they say workforce housing, but tonight I've heard affordable housing. I believe there might be a little distinction in that. I don't know. There's so many different types of housings. When you start throwing out terms, and again, it is not what we contracted for. The community may have spoken about they don't want density. I'm not so sure that's the reason. Number 3, we need parking. Whether we like it in that community, that location or not, I do believe that there can be parking that is not what we might consider ugly. There are all kinds of designs that you might not even know that it is parking. So I don't believe that we recognize, whether we like it or not, people come through our community, whether they stop at that location to park or if they're going to continue downtown or even start parking in your neighborhood and taking the freebie should we ever get the free parking, free transportation started again. So I think there are things that could have been done in those 12 months, but in my opinion, the developer was nowhere to be found. We would constantly say, where are you, where are you? They'd show up when there was a time for a time line to have, a point in a timeline to have been met. So for 22 months, we are now, as Commissioner Petrolia said, we're right back where we started in April 2019. And the reason that I am not in favor of a negotiation for a 4th amendment, rather it's something that affected the project directly or not, is that's the kind of trouble that the previous developer got into. We were continuously giving them amendments and extensions for whatever the reasons were. And after 3 years, the plug finally had to be pulled. So I am not in favor of it. Number 4, my biggest concern, and each one of you, I believe, stated it, where is the grocerer? There is nothing up there except that little tiny print that talks about the grocerer. Believe me, when Commissioner Frankel said an LOI is not a commitment, that grocerer at any minute can turn around and say, we're not interested anymore. We were there for an entire year. I sat in as many CRA meetings as I could, and each one of them talked about Publix. And after 12 months, Publix said, give us the land, we'll come back and tell you. At that particular time, it was 2017 to 2018, they said, we'll come back and tell you in 2022 whether or not we're going to give you back the land because we're not interested. And if we are interested, we'll decide then if we're going to build. 2023. I believe that's the last date that was on the tiny print. So I feel that we're in the same boat. We're paddling just to stay afloat. And I am just not comfortable that the pattern of behavior of disappearing after commitments have been made is not going to continue. I agree with Commissioner Petrolia, Mayor Petrolia, that put some skin in the game. If they would just say, oh, we'll put $1 million down because we really believe we can bring this home. No, they're not saying that. And the methodology they're using doesn't even give us the full amount. So I think enough has been said about it. Unless someone else has something to say, I think we're ready for a motion to approve or disapprove the negotiation and preparation of a 4th amendment. So should I go with the disapprove first?
I would respectfully request that you just allow the members of your board to make the appropriate motion they deem appropriate.
Okay. Thank you. Do I?
To negotiate a Fourth Amendment.
Clarification, go ahead. Can you?
Right, okay, so if we approve.
I'm sorry,
just-
there should be a second.
Before, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Second for discussion.
So legal, if we approve moving forward with the amendment, or I'm sorry, moving forward with the negotiation, if we don't have the negotiation that we need or would like to see when we come back in January, what happens?
You would not approve the Fourth Amendment.
Okay, so today we're
You
just
would, you
approving.
have the option, we will work to our best ability to bring you a document that reflects the discussion, and provided we can reach an accord on the terms to present it to you. Or we would present a document with a list of open issues, under which at that point you would consider the Fourth Amendment and its terms, and either you would approve or disapprove it.
Okay, thank you.
I have a motion on the floor with a second. Call the roll, please. Is Danielle present? Wait, Commissioner Brooks has returned, so let's give him an opportunity to settle in. Can you? Okay, no. We'll wait till you're ready.
Did he go to the restroom? Is that okay?
He went to the restroom.
Can he get there from there?
Yes, he can.
Commissioner Gray? Okay, when he comes back. DJ, would you tell Commissioner
Yes, ma'am.
Brooks when
For the
he
record, I'll
returns?
state the motion that is on the floor.
No, when Commissioner Brooks returns, would you restate it for his hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And thank you for your patience with us today.
Good to have you back.
Commissioner Brooks, we're going to restate the motion for your edification. So DJ's going to restate the motion that's on the floor.
Just for the record, Commissioner Brooks has rejoined the meeting. Therefore, you have a full complement of 7 board members. Commissioner, there is a motion on the floor. It's been made and seconded. The motion before this board is to authorize staff to proceed to negotiate a Fourth Amendment.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Casal?
Sorry, ma'am, could you speak up louder?
Yes.
Vice Chair Frankel?
Respectfully, no.
Deputy Vice Chair Gray?
Could you hear her?
I couldn't hear her.
She couldn't take a mask off, just temporarily.
Yes.
Chair Johnson?
No.
Commissioner Petrolia?
Yes, with the caveat that if it doesn't come to where I want it to sit, where I want to see it, I will not be supporting it moving forward. So I just want to make that very, very clear.
Commissioner Boylston?
And did she call Commissioner Brooks?
I didn't hear Boylston if he said something.
Did you call Commissioner Brooks again?
Yes.
And Commissioner Brooks?
Okay. Did you say yes?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'd like to add to what the mayor said that, gentlemen, respectfully, the accountability deposit is a problem, and for this reason, so you understand my thinking, the grocery store, just by that timeline, is quite a ways out, and we don't want to be refunding money to get to the end and not have what we want in this project, which is the grocery store. So, please, thank you.
All right, let's close it up.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.